I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up for Friday, April 3rd, 2020, the WNW Weekly News Wrap Up 425. I keep yelling at my television. Every time I hear that idiot Governor Cuomo, who they have to take live from New York, talking about we need hospital beds and ventilators and masks, and I keep yelling, why don't you just give them the cure? Why don't you just give him the cure? You know, he has restricted the cure. I'm talking about the drug hydroxychloroquine, which they use as a lupus drug and also a anti-malaria drug, also a Z-Pak, some zinc. But this isn't some crazy tinfoil hat cure. This is a cure that's been peer-reviewed by people like Stanford Medical School, medical doctors there, top medical doctors in France, medical doctors here, and all kinds of tests. Here is one. Dr. Zelenko has now treated 699 coronavirus patients with 100% success using hydroxychloroquine, zinc, and a Z-Pak. Dr. Vladimir Zelenko from New York State announced he found treatment against the coronavirus with a 100% success rate on 350 patients. This was a week or so ago. Now, Zelenko has treated 699 coronavirus patients with 100% success. Over in China, they had a test of 40 people. They expanded it to 80 people. 78% were totally clear. Virus poof, gone. Not any trace of the virus. One died, one still in intensive care. And most of the people, and incidentally, this Mr. Dr. Zelenko's test, not anybody under 70. And so, this is excellent medical peer-reviewed results with little to no downside. And the FDA has thrown holy water. They have said you can use hydroxychloroquine for off-label use to treat the coronavirus. Then this happens. The FDA says anti-malaria drugs touted by Trump and other people for coronavirus care in shortage. This is my take. Hydroxychloroquine is in short supply because it's been scientifically proven to work with little to no side effects. Why isn't the medical community focusing on this instead of ventilators and hospital beds? Now, 3 different governors had restricted the use. Now those restrictions in Nevada and Michigan poof, but in New York, Governor Cuomo, who quietly, he wants to be president, but he doesn't want to say that, he is still restricting the use of hydroxychloroquine. That's pretty outrageous. I mean, people are dying. I mean, you have the chance of, let's see, you're about ready to die. You're really about ready to stick a tube down your throat with a ventilator, or you could take hydroxychloroquine with very little side effects and a 95+% success rate. What would you do? In countries, Dr. Oz was saying this, I've been on the phone to countries around the world. In my country, Turkey, he's from Turkey. He says, that's the first thing they give. Boom, hydroxychloroquine. You take this right now. If you got signs, bam, we're not even going to test you. You take this right now. China, same thing. Hydroxychloroquine, bam. That's what they ought to be doing. I mean, this is a cheap drug. And as far as the FDA saying that the drugs are in short supply, just for grins and giggles, I called my local Walmart on Wednesday and said, hey, I'm just trying to do some research. Do you have the drug hydroxychloroquine? Hold on. Comes back. What dosage would you like? Oh, you have multiple doses? Yes. We have 200 milligrams and we have another dosage too. But you got it. Yes, sir. We have it. So, I mean, this is not some far-out, wackadoodle, crazy drug that's obscure and expensive that had that, when you take it, you might get cancer or heart disease, or, you might, your heart might stop. Nope. A 50 to 60-year track record with this drug, and they also use it for other diseases like lupus. I don't understand why that the big push isn't for hydroxychloroquine. A Z-Pak, some zinc, but the main ingredient, hydroxychloroquine, and at least in one test, the researchers in France, and this was double study backed up by folks at Stanford University Medical Center, saying that it eliminates the virus. It kills it off after they treat people. It's about a 6 days, something like that, treatment. I don't understand why they're not focusing on giving people a cure early and often. Forget the test. If you think you have it, bam, fine. I mean, the tests are fine too, but that's what they're doing in countries like China and in Turkey, according to Dr. Oz. And yes, The only state that's restricting hydroxychloroquine is the idiot governor from New York, Governor Cuomo. Hey, governor, people are going to die for your restriction on this drug, and it's stupid. It's not like it's some far out crazy risk that people have to take. You ought to be lifting this restriction, in my humble opinion, and that's what the science says. This is not some tinfoil hat somebody came up with in their basement, like take a lot of vitamin C, or although that may work, or take a lot of vitamin D, or I think if you just do whatever. No. This is science, and it's scientifically proven. I mean, the doctors, sure, they like to have a wider test. But what are you going to wait for, 15, 20, 30,000 people to die so you have a wider test and say, oh, wow, it really worked? So listen, the downside is nil and the upside is huge and the cost is minuscule. So hydroxychloroquine, if you get sick, demand your doctor give it to you. The FDA has approved it for off-label use. It's approved. Let's talk about the economy and the effects of what's going on with the economy. I mean, this is a cartoon world we are living in, folks. And people think that we're going to have some V-shaped recovery. That's what the stupid, ridiculous financial news channels are telling you. These are the same people who would never tell you to sell. They're still telling you to hold on. And here we have the Fed balance sheet. It hit $6.6 trillion. I mean, it's up 1.6 trillion in 3 weeks. This is what that looks like on a chart, right? And listen, I just did a little research. 9/19/2019, 6 months ago, the Fed balance sheet was 3.76 trillion. It's now almost 6 trillion. It's 5.9. It's $5.9 trillion. But what's $100 billion in the world we live in? And that's just the Federal Reserve. That doesn't count the 2.2 trillion, porculus package we just passed, and that doesn't count, another 2 trillion that they're talking about. But listen, this isn't going to be the panacea that you think it is, because I think a lot of these jobs are going to be permanently lost. I mean, this is going to change forever, and the sad thing about it is what happens when these unemployment programs, peter out. I have a friend of mine with a jewelry store. He says, man, 2 weeks ago, I closed my jewelry store. Oh, man, you're kidding. He goes, no. I said, why'd you close it? He goes, my business stopped. I said, so I told my employees to go file for unemployment. I say to him, well, don't you have to pay that unemployment insurance? He goes, no, in this new deal, the federal government will pick up the tab for the unemployment insurance. Oh, my gosh. So every company in the country is like, what? We don't have to pay the unemployment insurance? Bam, you're laid off. And that's why we're seeing this huge spike in unemployment, which I'll get to in just a minute. But just to let you know, it's not just the Fed's balance sheet. I mean, remember I told you in the last crisis, in the banking system, this was a CNBC story that in 2011 or so, and this is by professors at University of Missouri, Kansas City, UMKC, 29 trillion is what that cost us. 29 trillion with everything, the loans, the guarantees, the money printing, the bond buying, who knows? But now we have this estimate. This is we estimate the U.S. cost of coronavirus economic shutdown is 34 trillion. That's just in the U.S., folks. This is a grassfire.com, a website from there. But I don't know if their numbers are correct. But given that last debacle was 29 trillion, according to a CNBC story, and a couple of PhD professors at University of Missouri, Kansas City, this isn't so far-fetched. And this is a total from stock losses, unemployment, lost wages, dramatically reduced GDP, federal government deficits, spending, stimulus. I like porculus myself. Already at $34 trillion. I mean, and you think, a couple of $1 trillion is going to save people? Drop in the bucket. U.S. labor market. Total free fall. 10 million Americans have filed for unemployment in 2 weeks. Last week was a record 3.3 million filing. I told you that people couldn't even they were so backed up they couldn't even file the forms this week. It was 6.48 million people. I'm sure that people are still backed way up, but this is what this looks like on a chart. I mean, here we go. We got employment, good. Trump years. And then boing! Oh my gosh, what? 10 million spikes. I mean, this is record territory, folks. In a short amount of time, record territory. The unemployment rate in the Great Depression, and that's why people say this is going to be the Greater Depression. The unemployment rate was about 25%. But of course, back then the unemployment numbers were, are you working? Yes or no? No, you're unemployed. Now it's, U3 and U6, and are you discouraged and blah, blah, blah. And they, mess with the numbers. But still, Federal President Bullard, and this, Michael Pinto brought this out in his interview this week, which was fantastic. The guy's a brainiac, a walking computer that spits stuff out. And he says that, we're going to have, a 42% unemployment rate. That's pretty stunning. Pinto also says that we're going to be getting the worst economic news reported data in the history of economic data. Wow, this is only April 3rd. And then you see this with Boeing. Instead of firing everyone, Boeing offered voluntary buyouts to its entire workforce of 161,000. Read along with me now. When the world emerges from the pandemic, the size of the commercial market and the types of products and services our customers want and need will likely be different, says Chief Executive Officer David Calhoun said in a message to employees on Thursday. It's important we start adjusting to our new reality now. And folks, that's why I say when you hear these people talking about this V-shaped recovery or U-shaped recovery, this is all going to change. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but I want people to really fully grasp what they're facing. There's a lot of jobs that are not going to come back. That's what he's saying. And we're talking about, they're talking about the aircraft industry, uberly skilled workers, machinists, technicians, and people who are highly paid. I don't imagine at Boeing that you can push a broom and be a janitor and make less than 50 or 70,000 a year with benefits and insurance and everything else and company matching, whatever. I suspect that's about, that's the cheapest employee. And then you take a look at skilled labor, machinists and mechanics and designers and engineers, and that rate of pay goes way up. We're talking about also General Electric. To go along with Boeing, General Electric is laying off half of the people that build their jet engines. Half. Poof, zoom, gone, bye. I mean, that's another highly skilled labor, a jet engine builder for major aircraft. That's just unbelievable, and that is for GE engines are in airplanes, around the world, not just Boeing, but also Airbus. But I hope they hire some of those people back. But it looks like what Boeing is saying is that we're going to have a new world, a new paradigm, a new reality, whatever you want to call it. But it's going to be a much poorer reality than we've seen, and we're going to get some awful economic numbers, and I want you to brace yourself. And this is only April 3rd. Auto sales. Let's move on. Plunged to, this is in the U.S., to the lowest in a decade, but the worst is yet to come in the second quarter. And I mean, look at this chart. I mean, money printing. Woohoo! Everything's great forever, ever. Boom. No, it's not. I mean, we had no money down loans, and we had low money down loans on houses. I'll get to that in just a second. We had people borrowing more money than the house works and then rebating it back to the people, which is a total fraud. So no, and not only no money down, but let's say it's a $100,000 house, they'd borrow $105,000, and at the closing table, they'd slide the $5,000 over to the realtor for a closing cost, and you have a uberly upside down loan. And this is really going to make people freak out, because I'm sure home building has come to a screeching halt. Home sales have come to a screeching halt. I mean, unemployment is skyrocketing. Do you think people are, I may lose my job. Let's go out and buy a new, bigger, and greater house? No, that ain't happening. Hey, honey, let's, I don't know if I'm going to have my job next year or not, but let's go out and get on the hook for $300,000-400,000 and let's build our dream house. No. That's not happening either. And look at this. Here comes the next crisis. Remember, this was the last crisis, the mortgage crisis, the junk mortgage, the toxic mortgages, the subprime mortgages. Well, the next crisis, up to 30% of all mortgages will default in the biggest wave of delinquencies in history. And here's what that looks like on a chart. I mean, here's what happened in 2000, at the aftermath of 2008 and 2009. 10% delinquencies. Got it? Okay, so let's go on. Things got better. Money printing. Boing! That's what's going to happen, folks. I mean, that's what it looks like on a chart. This is absolutely outrageous. Are people going to be thrown in the street? Maybe. I think what's going to happen is the banks are going to foreclose on the house and say, listen, we can move your stuff out to the curb, or you can rent the house back from us. Oh, and we need a few bucks for a down payment. But can you imagine the amount of people that aren't going to be able to make the rent? Can you imagine that you buying an RV or a tent is going to be much cheaper? The homelessness crisis is going to explode. People may not even be able to afford the rent. I mean, you got some, utterly ridiculous cartoon loan rate of 3.2% or 3.5% or sub 4% for 30-year money. That's going to go bye-bye. And hey, I'm going to tell you something else is going to come back: a down payment. I mean, what they've done in the housing industry is absolutely moronic. Where you're getting a 100% no money down loan, or they roll the closing cost into your loan. Stupid. I mean, you're not even paying for the house. You're paying, so the $3,000 or $4,000, $5,000 you're paying is going to cost you, I don't know, $9,000, $12,000, $15,000 over the price of the loan, and all it is a fee. I mean, you should at least have closing costs and a 10% down payment, 5% anyway, but nobody has any money. I mean, what's that statistic? More than 70% of people don't have $400 in savings. They don't have $1,000 for a rainy day. They don't have anything invested. They don't have any retirement. They don't have 70% are living hand to mouth. And so, listen, I don't have good news here, but I want you to brace yourself for what it is. Are we going to hit bottom at some point? Sometime in the month of April. And remember what Polney said also. Here we have the executive of Boeing say that we're going to have a new normal, a new paradigm, whatever we want to call it. What did Polney say? After April is going to be a new era. And that, things are going to bottom out sometime in April in this leg. And the gold market, I want to talk about that a little bit. I mean, the commissions on silver are skyrocketing. The Mint is shipping coins, but the commission on gold eagles, it's like 150% of what it normally is right now. And the commissions are $170, $80, $200. I mean, it's unbelievable. One guy, I was telling you about the Kitco's 10th ounce coins. They were, if you added them all together, 10th ounce coins equaled more than $2,000. Now, with 10th ounce coins, you pay a commission per coin. And with, a quarter ounce, a commission per coin. So, you pay a commission per coin. That's why it's always cheaper to buy 1 ounce coin. You pay one commission for one coin. But even the 1 ounce coins, Melody at Discount Gold and Silver Trading is telling me, wow, it's 170. This is a couple days ago. I don't know what it is right now. I mean, it was up $40 on Thursday. 170, 80, 200. I don't know where it's going to land. And right now you can get it, but you're paying up for it. I had another friend of mine, hey, do you think I should buy gold? Yeah, but, you're kind of coming to the party at 2 a.m. and, underwear's hanging from the chandeliers and people are sprawled out on the ground and you're trying to get the last half cup of beer out of a warm keg. Okay? So are we going to have gold and silver in the future that you can buy? Sure, at a much, much higher price. And that's the other thing I wanted to talk about is that we've heard this for years, but I do think that we're getting down to the non-delivery, failure to deliver phase when everybody realizes the gold that people expect to buy, that they want to buy, that they're leveraging and playing with and naked short selling and doing all this criminal activity. Thank you, CFTC. I think we're going to find out that people are going to be shocked to find out that everybody's already bought it and is hoarding it and is lining up for it, and especially little guys. I mean, the time to buy gold for little guys is when nobody's panicking. There's low commissions. Is 6 months ago you could have bought it gold for $40 over spot. Gold Eagles. I was telling you about. Melody was telling me. I said, "What's the commission on your coins?" It's like 6 months ago. She says, 260, 280, it's something like that for, some U.S. Silver Eagles. Now, some commissions are double spot. Silver on Thursday was $14.45 and people are charging $28.30. It's outrageous. It's really outrageous. So I'm just telling you, Polney says that the stock market is going to ultimately dive. It was up on Thursday, and the gold market is going to go this way. Before they were going down together, and now they're going to go opposite directions. And I think some of that's going to be some sort of non-delivery revelation. Could be. But what we needed for a non-delivery revelation is high demand, and boy, the high demand is there. When you're talking about every country in the world printing money for unemployment and for to buy food and to buy bonds and to keep companies afloat, it's just not going to be enough, folks. I've been telling you this one statistic, and Penta brought this out. 15%, 12%, take your pick, somewhere in that neighborhood. 1 in 8 companies, roughly, are zombie companies. These companies are going to go down. They're never going to come back. I mean, we're going to have a really rough patch. And I just want you to be prepared for it. So listen, if you, at this point, when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. If you got a vacation, cancel it. If you're going to buy a new car, and I'm probably people are going to be mad at me in the car, but don't buy it unless you absolutely have to have it, or you can pay cash for it. I'll tell you, repairs and maintenance are cheap relative to depreciation and interest payments on a car. If you got a car and you got a title to it, that's a good thing to have. Deutsche Bank watch. Listen, a lot of people are, they keep telling me this thing about they won't let that happen. Yeah, they. Yeah, okay. Deutsche Bank was $120 a share in 07, and now it's down to 602. Deutsche Bank. Remember what Nenner said? This was the day where the market was up in the U.S. Remember what Charles Nenner said about DB going below 644? 644. Yeah. He said, listen, if it breaks 644, the chances are this thing's going to go to zero. Now, this whole they won't let that happen. Well, they let it go from 120 to 602. And I don't know when that's going to happen, but the reason why I keep bringing up Deutsche Bank is because the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, deemed this the most systemically dangerous bank in the world in 2016. They've never retracted that. Professor Black from UMKC, who I've had on this show more than once, is saying that I don't know why we even are consider it a bank, Deutsche Bank. It's really a criminal operation. They're the ones that got caught criminally manipulating Forex and gold and silver and got caught and paid fines. Of course, no banker can ever go to jail. But, that's part of the scam was this blind-eyed criminal activity. Bernie Madoff has a $60 billion phony fund. And that couldn't have happened without J.P. Morgan Chase, who paid a $2.6 billion fine in restitution to avoid criminal charges. I'm sure Madoff would have liked that deal. I've said that in the past. So, you're playing in waters where sharks are swimming. And this is the whole idea here where, people will call me now here recently and say, well, if I buy gold or silver, what happens when I sell it? They're already thinking about selling it. They don't understand. They just think this is a trade. Buying precious metals is a survival mechanism. That's all there is, a insurance policy that never expires. Like every 6 months you pay for car insurance, not this. You buy it, the policy's set, your insurance is set. And let me tell you, if gold hasn't skyrocketed yet, but it is up $270 year over year, and certainly hasn't gone down the 30+% the stock market has, and ultimately it's going to go down lower than that. But you buy that as an insurance policy, and to try to go out and protect yourself when everything's hitting the fan is, like going out and trying to buy fire insurance when you see your whole roof of your house on fire. That's the wrong time to go out and buy insurance. Now, you can still put yourself in a better position, but at this point, I'm telling you, little people, cut expenses now. This is not sexy. Cut your cable, cut your cell phone. Buy a burner phone. Stop going on vacation. Don't eat out. Well, you can't do that with this virus thing anyway, but cut way back on all that stuff and direct your firepower to storing food, maybe buying some silver, paying off your car, getting a set of tires. This is going to be work, and there's no magic bullet. No, there's no. What can you do for little people? People say to me all the time. I said, listen, this is not sexy, and it's going to be work, and there's no magic bullet. So if you think that I can tell you how to continue your life by doing some magic little thing, having a magic coin or the magic pill, I don't have that for you. This is going to be work, and the economy is in deep trouble, and you should grasp that and realize that. And if you haven't started already, then start now to try to put yourself in the best position possible. And, the reason why I bring up Deutsche Bank is the day that DB and they pull the pin out of that thing for the last time and they let it fall down the hill to zero. That's the day that we have the other one of the next shoes dropping. One of the other things that's going to happen out of this is going to cause great strain and consternation. I'm already hearing about China paying reparations. China paying for the coronavirus. They knew about it at least a month before, and even the World Health Organization covered for China by, there's no peer-to-peer, person-to-person contact. Lie. And China didn't come out and come forth early on with this and said there wasn't a problem when there was, and got mad that President Trump stopped people coming from China into the United States, which probably saved tens of thousands of lives. And I'm not a cheerleader for Donald Trump because other world leaders followed suit a couple of weeks after, including the president of Mexico and the president of Canada, after criticizing Trump as some xenophobe. But now we're getting this here. We're going to hear more of this. And be prepared for more of this. And this is going to be like throwing gasoline on a fire. This is Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee. China should waive some of our debt. They have made the global pandemic worse. And this is my take. Look for more demands for China to pay for the China virus mess, not just here in the U.S., but Italy, Europe, Canada, Mexico. I mean, everywhere. Right now, you don't think that 1 minute that New Yorkers at the Attorney General of New York may try to sue China for damages for this coronavirus mess. I mean, this is going to really raise tensions in the world. Of course, China denies that they're the cause of this pandemic. They were upfront the entire time. I want to be fair. And they came out recently and said, well, it's just the U.S. trying to lay blame somewhere else for not being prepared. Listen, this is going to raise the tension level around the world with countries that have been dealing with China. China has taken a big hit, and they're saying, well, we're all back to normal. Although the president and other people say they don't trust their numbers, they don't trust their reporting, and it looks like they're fighting a second infection in China. But even if they were all ready to go, everything is shut down in most parts of the world, and the markets that they supply and feed to have been severely impaired, if not completely shut down. This is the damage here is this is not going to be something that we can, end of April, we're done. The damage is done, folks. The damage has been done. And on top of that, here we have, never let a crisis go to waste for the globalist, Marxist, satanic, evil weasels out there. This breaks. UN wants a 10% global tax. And the only way you could get a global tax is if you had a global government to pay for new shared responsibility program to address the coronavirus pandemic. Namely, America, you pay, and we want your wealth. And this is Is this what this pandemic really is all about? Really, one world government and globalist control of everything? Sure looking that way, folks. To float that out is pretty dang outrageous. And you know what the Marxist, New World Order, anti-American universities are telling? They want to control and shame you by your words. Listen, let me just start this little section out with China virus, China virus, China virus, China virus. Did I tell you China virus, this virus came from China? China virus. And the UC tells students, do not say Chinese virus and don't allow others to say it either. What, is some little punk snowflake going to try to grab me and put me in a headlock? This is what they do. It's like, Caitlyn Jenner's a beautiful woman. No, he's not. He's an ugly man in a dress. And listen, if he wants to wear a skirt and he wants to pretend he's a girl, and he being the 1968 men's decathlon winner in the Olympics, that's fine. It's a free country. But don't expect me to buy into it. Same thing with this China virus garbage. Yes, it's a coronavirus. Or you can't even say Wuhan, which is where it came from. Listen, China is responsible for this pandemic getting out of control because they were opaque and secretive, and they were covered by the World Health Organization, and they lied too. So don't let anybody shame you into not speaking your mind, no matter how wrong it is, no matter how wrong somebody thinks it is, no matter if they think it's hate speech, no matter if they think it's wrong or not. It doesn't make any difference. Freedom of speech is freedom of speech, and it's very, very, and the exemptions to that are very limited. You know, like yelling fire in a theater, you can't do that. So I just wanted to tell you all, I really appreciate everything that you've done. I appreciate your comments and your support. A lot of people have come on and told me that, you know, Greg, I've been following you for several years. This is many via email or through YouTube or through the site. And they said, you know, I took your advice. I paid off my car. I paid off my house. I mean, you know, little people needed a long time to prepare for this. You know, important rich people might be able to prepare for it in 6 months. If you got $50 million or $1 billion, you might be able to prepare for it in 6 months. You know, 6 months ago, if you started working on that, you might have gotten pretty far down the road. But little people needed to pay off debt, pay off their house, fix their plumbing, get new tires for their vehicle, amass some cash at home, buy some silver, buy some gold, get out of the markets, pare back on your risk. That's the debt is a 4-letter word, DEBT, and it equals RISK. Debt equals risk. And that's why I've been telling you, it's not a sexy thing. It's not something that I can tell you, hey, buy XYZ company and you'll make 50 cents on the dollar. You'll make 100 cents on the dollar. And listen, I am not an expert at you making mad money. I mean, Jim Cramer is good for that, I guess. But what I am good at is telling you about reducing your risk, because what has been building, I knew, and many of my guests knew, was going to be awful. When it hit, it was going to be awful. People were going to have a hard time. And if you have a house paid for and a car paid for, even if you lose your job, heaven forbid, you don't lose a place to stay. I mean, if you have a few bucks saved and you can get a job at right now, Walmart and Amazon and grocery stores are all hiring people, and maybe you go there. But I don't know. But what I wanted people to do was reduce their risk, and debt equals risk. And that's what I wanted people to do. And I had people send me some heartfelt emails about, some of the guests, I thought you were too overly, concerned. And now, well, not so much. Or I took your advice and I paid off my house and car and I have some food and, some silver and whatever. I mean, a lot of people gave a bold pony, and I did my big nana poo stick your head in doo-doo thing. But a lot of people gave bold pony a hard time. But I always said I booked him. And when I was booking him, he says, thanks for booking me, man. I said, no. At some point, you're going to be fabulously right. And he made some big calls along the way. He made a big call on 18 about the market crashing, and we got 20% in the S&P in the Dow, and we had 37% in the Russell. We had a 1045 call on gold in 2015. He hasn't been always right. He'll be the first to say that, but he's made some big calls. And I knew he was going to ended up being fabulously right, and now he's fabulously right. I mean, his chart work has been, here's the top, here's the B wave that's going to bounce up, and now we're ready to cliff dive. And gold and silver are going to take off because they're printing money like crazy madmen. And so anything you can have real, I mean, even if you have your house title in your $300,000 house turns into 150, it still smells like you. You're still living in it. That's a powerful tool. A house with a title, a car with a title, food, water, no debt, no credit cards. I mean, you can go to work, right? You have time to breathe and move and figure out what you're going to do, what your next move is, without losing something, without 4:00 in the morning to hear doot 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 doot, a tow truck out taking your car out of the driveway, repossessing it. Anyway, I just want to thank you all for supporting USA Watchdog with your comments and your donations. And listen, if you can't donate, if something happens, the site is free. Enjoy it, guilt-free. That said, I do appreciate the help. I don't know, when I'm going to be taken off the air by Google, or if I am, or whatever, or when they're going to demonetize the next video. I have no idea. But anyway, thank you very much for supporting USA Watchdog with your comments and your donations. And this is my favorite part: fear not. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, above all spiritually. Fear not. God the Father and the Son, Jesus Christ, are firmly in control. And you can throw in some Holy Spirit too. Thank you very much for supporting USAWatchdog.com.